King here, bringing you a follow-up to my class tier list video for Baldur's Gate 3. I wanted to take a second to look at the community tier list for each of the class. So instead of me talking about which classes I think are top tier, we'll look at the community rankings, and that these rankings are basically a consensus among the community in regards to what places where. And I'll basically explain why I think that is. So, Paladin, S tier. Again, because it has access to Smite, it can do some of the heaviest single target damage in the game. If you like big crits in battle, Paladin can do that. If you like being able to have heal utility, Paladin can do that as well. So it's not surprising that people consider Paladin a very fun and easy class to play, whether it is tactician mode, whether it is honor mode. Not a massive amount of difference there. It's just you're going to be able to potentially run your MC through the game, give him progressively better two-handed swords to use, progressively better plate mail and helmets to use, and then just smite things and lay on hands, and then that's your whole game plan. And so S tier for Paladin, and I agree with that. Sorcerer, again, only class that can double cast. We already talked about that. That we both the community and myself, we agree that Sorcerer is one of the best classes in the game. Warlock, A tier. Again, Warlock and Fighter are both exceptionally strong. I said before, in terms of being able to cast multiple lasers per round with self-hasting, so being able to cast 6 lasers per round, being able to action surge and attack 6 times per round. That's kind of similar in concept, whether you're spamming a cantrip, whether you're essentially spamming attacks or bow shots. Fighter and Warlock perform very similarly in that regard, and they're both very good classes. Cleric as an A class, I don't really get that one in particular. I think there are better caster classes to play than Cleric, but I do know a lot of people love DPS Cleric as just kind of like their fun class identity. But I would rather play Druid. I'd rather play Druid MC than Cleric MC personally, and that's just because I like to min-max stats. Druid can essentially have 20 Wisdom, 20 Strength by endgame, and that's just a very powerful thing that Cleric cannot do. Cleric is never going to be as good in melee as a Druid, and then in terms of spellcasting, they're about on parity for the most part. So, and then in terms of their cross-class potential, if you wanted to cross-class a Druid with Lightning Sork, you can do that. If you wanted to take a Fire Strike Cleric and class it with Sorcerer, you could do that. So they both kind of function very similarly in terms of their damage potential. Bard, again, I don't get the Bard thing at all. I'm just going to skip over it. Barbarian, I think that Giants Barbarian is basically S tier, and in fact, if you look at some of the other tier lists the community submitted, they said that Barbarian was S tier, because I do think that throwing Barbarian in particular is very, very strong. There are +3 weapons in this game that are designed to be thrown, and they do insane damage, and they even do AoE damage, so basically incredibly strong. Monk, again, I do value the dodge tanking pretty highly. Anytime you can have a high dexterity, fast class that can have 24 AC, that's going to be something you want to consider in this game. Especially in honor mode, where it's you kind of don't have the benefit of quick loading to essentially, you get a bad roll, you get absolutely nuked off the face of the earth. There is no going back from that. So essentially having a high DPS character that is no longer squishy anymore is a very good thing. So Monk and Rogue both kind of benefit from this, of being higher AC than some fighters. That is a real thing. Wizard, again, I don't get this. Bladesong Wizard should also be considered S tier as far as I'm concerned, just because of its pure power and utility and the things that it can do. You can MC Wizard in this game very, very easily. Put a Shadow Blade in your hand and you're basically good to go for the rest of the game. And then also just have access to 6 levels of spells. And then finally, Ranger. Ranger two hands very, very well. So, how does a Ranger compare to a Paladin? Well, Smite does a lot of single target DPS damage, but Ranger has Whirlwind at level 10. And then Whirlwind allows you to essentially take that two-hander and then smack a bunch of mobs at once. So Ranger is basically performing similar to Paladin in some ways, but it's just better at dealing with mobs. It's better at dealing with ads and a bunch of targets at once. And it also has spells that do cone damage and things like that. So yeah, that's